29th Annual Critics' Choice Awards happened on January 14th of 2024, and there were some interesting moments to say the least. Some were heartfelt, others questionable, but today we're talking about embarrassing. Starting off strong, we have Chelsea Handler calling Robert De Niro and Harrison Ford old. This interaction takes the cake for the weirdest, most awkward, most uncomfortable and embarrassing moment of the entire award show, which is why I had to talk about it first. Chelsea first exposed herself when she said she had a preference for dating older men and really likes particularly old men. Her words exactly were, "I like old men who were around before the railroad was made." While it was intended to be a joke, it got an uncomfortable laugh from the audience. She followed that up by saying she's been attracted to both Harrison and Robert since she was young, and that they're both smoke shows, and she couldn't tell which one was more attractive that night. She finished off her spiel by saying they just kept getting more attractive as they kept getting older, and that she was going to stop before she embarrassed herself further. While this did have the audience laughing, Harrison was not impressed. Like, at all. He was spotted cringing slightly during her comments, but overall, just had that unimpressed old man face. It was giving everyone secondhand embarrassment. Following that, we have Ryan Gosling's face. He is no stranger to becoming internet memes. From Drive to The Notebook to Barbie, he sure knows how to please the internet with his iconic lines and faces. Well, that's exactly what happened at the Choice Awards. When Barbie was announced as the winner of Best Original Screenplay, his face was priceless because he wasn't expecting the movie to be announced as a winner, considering how much attention it got at the Golden Globes. So he was giving the camera an intense side-eye like he didn't really believe they won. We're sure he was happy to have won the award, but how unsure he was of the whole thing was hilarious. His deadpan expression took the world by storm as a reaction image, and Ryan has once again been made the meme of the month. Then we have Bella Ramsey roasting Ariana DeBose. Ariana is a trained singer and dancer, as well as a trained actress. So when Bella made a dig at her while making her acceptance speech, it caused a bit of tension. Bella joked about actors who think they're singers, which was when the camera zoomed in on Ariana's very unpleased face. After the ceremony, she took to her Instagram to express how she felt about the comment, saying she did not find it funny. Well, her followers came to defend her, obviously, saying that she's a Broadway triple threat and she's trained in every category, and they don't blame Bella, but they blame the writers. But Bella never actually directed the comment at anyone. She could have been addressing Ryan Gosling, who had an entire musical number in the Barbie movie, but isn't actually a singer. But Ariana chose to take it personally because the camera zoomed in on her. It's embarrassing that she took it so deeply to heart when it may not have even been directed at her. Next on the list, we have Chelsea Handler dating Joe Coy and joking about it. For those of you who don't know, Joe Coy hosted the Golden Globes and absolutely bombed it. He made jokes that fell flat and some that just weren't funny at all. He called people out for things that were a little unnecessary and then blamed his terrible hosting skills on poor writing. And Chelsea did not hold back when calling all of that out at the Critics' Choice Award. She made a joke about Martin Scorsese, who was another silver-haired Hollywood character, but she thanked the audience for laughing at the joke, and said that her writers wrote it, and actually did a good job, which was an obvious Joe at Diggs' comments about the poor writing. She also described his blaming the writers as a rookie move, but her jokes do come from a deeper place, considering she dated Joe from 2021 to 2022, so there's a deeper emotion behind her much better jokes. Following that, we have how John Oliver won the Best Talk Show. The fact that they have a category for Critics' Choice of talk shows is embarrassing itself, because who's really willing to put in the time to critique a talk show, let alone pick the best one? Well, John Oliver's Last Week Tonight beat out all the other big name talk shows, like Graham Norton, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and The Late Night Show with Stephen Colbert, as well as Late Night with Seth Meyers. Kelly Clarkson's show was also in there too, but no one was betting on her to win. Good for him for stealing the win, but the embarrassment comes to the people who had to sit down and discuss which talk show was better. Then we have how half the shows weren't recognized. Don't get me wrong, it could totally just be me and my lack of TV knowledge, but half the movies and TV shows that won awards I've never actually heard of. Like, there were no ads or anything, or posters, or anything like that for them. A lot of them were made right for streaming, but even then, people usually get ads for it. We often know the critics have a vastly different opinion from the public, seeing as they like to go for the underdogs. But when the general public hasn't heard of half the nominations, maybe they should take a hint that their opinion doesn't mean that much in the public eye. even if it can determine the success of a movie on IMDb. Not to mention, a lot of the movies had up-and-coming actors, so a lot of the names weren't recognized, which has been proven to deter most people from watching new movies, simply because people like to be able to recognize big names and faces in movies. Next on the list, we have the movies made for television category. Can we talk about how embarrassing that is for people who think they're going to be in a huge blockbuster hit, but to find out it's just made for television like a Hallmark movie? Now, I'm not discrediting those actors, because acting is a talent that not everyone can possess. But the fact that they made a whole category for movies that were never meant to hit the big screens is kind of sad, as much as it is considerate of the film critics to include them. But if we take a step back and look at it from a different point of view, they had to add a whole new category because of the world being in lockdown, and so many people being forced to adapt to that. At-home streaming is really killing the movie industry, because half the movies that are released are also released straight to streaming services, on specific services as well. Let us know what you think about that in the comments. Following that, we have the limited TV show category. There are two categories that are limited: limited TV shows and limited movies. Now, to define limited is hard. Was it limited time and was an excuse for being unfinished? Was it a limited budget and they were just doing their best with the amount of money they had available? Was it a limited cast? They only have so many people working on set at a time? One way or another, it must feel embarrassing to create something with your whole heart and soul just for it to be categorized as a limited TV show. The title of the category almost feels demeaning to those who worked on it. Tom Holland was nominated for Best Actor in a limited TV series. He was literally the face of a new generation Spider-Man and was put in a limited category. Same with Kiefer Sutherland. He went from being a dramatic movie heartthrob to being an actor in a limited movie. Take that as you will, but we only set limits for ourselves. Second to last, we have how Scott Pilgrim Takes Off won. It just seems like such a silly thing to say, only because it is now getting recognition after being rebooted. Now, that isn't saying much. A lot of things become more popular once they've been rebooted, but the original Scott Pilgrim vs. the World movie came out in the early 2000s and was definitely viewed as more of an indie film and wasn't all that popular, despite its star-studded cast, like Michael Cera, Anna Kendrick, and Chris Evans. So to think it won the award for Best Animated Show was hard to believe. Not to mention it was contesting against Bluey, which took the world by storm, becoming one of the most popular kids show across the globe, but it was also competing against Bob's Burgers, the Harley Quinn animated series, and the new Star Trek animated series. So it had some really good competition and ultimately shocked everyone when it came out on top. I guess the critics aren't as fond as the Aussie accent dogs as the rest of the world is. And last but not least, we have Paul Giamatti's passive-aggressive comments. He beat out Cillian Murphy for the Best Actor for his role in The Holdover, and while he was making his acceptance speech on stage, he made some slightly passive-aggressive comments about his publicity. Just a week before the award ceremony, he was caught eating a fast food cheeseburger in his full suit after coming from the Golden Globes, which he won at as well. So the photo was pretty interesting, to say the least. Cheeseburger in one hand with a Golden Globe in the other. What a life to live. But the comments he made were along the lines of, "Thank you for the publicity, I really needed it right there in that moment while I was vulnerable." They continued to make jokes about the situation and overall just brushed it off. But the fact that he got blown up on the internet for eating a cheeseburger is a little embarrassing. And that is going to be our list of embarrassing moments that happened at the Critics' Choice Awards. If there was any moments you think we should have added, you can let us know in the comments below. And if you're looking for daily celebrity content, you should like the video and subscribe to the channel. This has been Beyond the Screen, and thank you so much for watching.